Today we're going to be building a volunteer-friendly worship pedal board. I have a friend that reached out. He works at a church in the area, and they are building a pedal board specifically for their volunteers who maybe they're students, maybe they're just getting started out and don't have a pedal board of their own, but he wanted some help putting together a board that basically any volunteer could come in and be able to be successful on a weekend, even if they don't have gear of their own. I can relate to this personally. When I first started playing in church when I was 12 years old, I didn't have any money for gear. I didn't have anything except my guitar and a really cheap little bedroom combo amp that sounded horrible. But luckily the church that I was volunteering at, they had a pedal board and an amp that I could use, which was great, but it also meant that I was thrown headfirst into a situation that I didn't know what I was doing. Luckily, I had somebody kind of take me under their wing and walk me through what all the different pedals did and how I could use them to get the sounds that I wanted and the sounds that I heard in the record. Now, you might be asking, in 2026, why build a pedal board with analog pedals and not just buy something like a Helix or a Kemper or a Quad Cortex? While I think those are great and my personal pedal board now uses an HX Stomp from line 6, I do think there's still something to be said for analog pedals. First and foremost, there's only so many knobs you can twist. You can't get stuck into the menus of all the different parameters that you can choose. And when you have a volunteer coming in, that we can assume that if they don't have gear of their own, they maybe don't have the most experience in what the bias of an amp does or what a low cut versus a high cut does. It can be a lot easier to just say, here's your basic EQ control, give it a twist and see what it does. When I first started volunteering at my church when I was 12, I had somebody take me under their wing and help me to figure out what all the pedals did. I was very fortunate that my church had a pedal board that I was able to use, but it was still a little bit overwhelming. So to be able to sit down and go, okay, what does a volume control do on an overdrive pedal? Turn it all the way down, turn it all the way up. Now I have an idea of what that single knob does. And in a rehearsal, if the worship leader says, hey, can you turn your overdrive up or make an adjustment in some way, I think it's a lot easier if you're looking at analog pedals with only so many controls. I think it's a lot easier to be able to make those adjustments quickly and to grow your own knowledge of what everything does. The one exception to the all analog pedal board that we are going to be using is the Strymon Big Sky, specifically because I think we can set this up in a way that is still easy for volunteers to use by simply having a short, long, and then a shimmer reverb, and just have 3 presets that they don't have to worry about banking through anything. We're not going to be doing any MIDI. Nothing complicated. Again, the whole idea of this board is to be super easy for somebody to come in, set it down, turn an amp on, and get some great sounds. So this build is going to be on a Temple Trio 21 pedal board. It's going to be this guy. So hopefully we should be able to get 3 pedals deep, and then it's 21 inches wide. If you've never used a Temple pedal board before, one of the things that are neat is they have this mounting. It's like a quick mount system. So you get these plates, and we'll see if you can see it here. They have a screw that unscrews and then will sit into on the pedal board. It's got all these holes in it, and so it just kind of settles in there, and then you can take a screw on the back side and hold it in place, and this is just like a sticker that you can put on the back of your pedal. So like here's the Big Sky, and you can just put the sticker, put that in the back, but then you can move it around over and over and over, and you don't have Velcro all over the pedal board. Admittedly, I've never used this system before. I've always just thrown Velcro over them, but I'm really excited to try it and see how it works. I really like the idea of it. First things first, we got to figure out our layout and how we want all of our pedals arranged. So let's just start placing them and see what happens. So here's what I think I've landed on for layout. So we're gonna come in, one thing I forgot to mention is these Temple boards have, they call them mods. But basically there's these little things that you can punch into the sides. So we've got, I believe it's the 4-way mod, but we're gonna plug our guitar in here. That's gonna come in to the compressor first, and then it's gonna hit our clean boost, and then the sick as overdrive, and it'll come up to the clon. This is not a real clon, by the way. I forgot to mention that. It's just a remake that looks real, but we don't have a $7,000 pedal on or whatever they cost right now on our volunteer board. From the clon, we'll go into the volume pedal. On the volume pedal, we'll use the tuner out, so the tuner can just stay on always, and then we'll go into the Memory Lane Junior by Diamond, and then up to the Big Sky, and then that will be where we go out to amps. I think we got everything mounted. I've got to be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the Temple mounting brackets. I probably did it wrong, but I found that it's really hard to hold the pedal in place and get the thumb screw. You've got to like get under it and get it seated in. Personally, I just prefer Velcro. It's really easy. You just see where it's gonna go, push it down, it sticks, you're done. But I will give it to it, like, I think you can pick the whole board up from a single pedal, and that's really secure, that's not going anywhere. Next step in the process is to get power and audio cables everywhere that they need to go, so let's get started doing that. I do have this special voltage doubler for the Big Sky, because it takes more than I believe it's 100 milliamp current that comes out of the Voodoo Lab, but a voltage doubler gives it what it needs, so we'll be using that. Once I've got power done, I like to just plug it in and make sure that everything at least comes on the way I expect it to. It makes it a lot easier to troubleshoot now than when you've also got audio cables running through everything. This is the quote-unquote finished board. I'm gonna try to clean some of this cabling up still, but essentially we come in on this in mod on the side, we go into the compressor comes out to the volume pedal, and then from the volume pedal, the tuner out goes straight to the tuner, so that can always stay on, and then into the Katana Clean Boost. From there, we go into the Bondi Effects Sick As Overdrive, into the Klon. From there, we go into the Diamond Memory Lane Junior, and then finally up to the Big Sky, and then out to the amps. So let's get this plugged in, let's see what it sounds like. All right, so I've got everything set up here. I've got the board running into my HX Stomp, which is doing amps, and then I'm recording that just straight into Logic. The amp is an AC30, and there is just a little bit of reverb in the amp, just so that it feels a little bit more in the room. But here's all the pedals bypassed, just the amp, and this is just my Strat straight into the amp and the Stomp. So that's just that. If we add the compressor, we get... That's really nice. And then let's go to the Sick As Overdrive. I like that a lot, and then we can push it a little bit with that Clean Boost. Without it and with it, maybe a little bit more. and then the clon. Of course, you've got to have the worship, that dotted eighth delay. And then we've got our Into the Big Sky. This is our first reverb patch. Just a nice, pretty quick but bright little reverb. On this B setting, here we've got, it's almost like an auto swell, but really nice. And then on the C patch, then we have just your normal Big Sky Cloud. With a different drive. A little bit of reverb or delay on that. All in all, I think that'll work really well and be really, hopefully pretty easy for a student or somebody just getting into worship guitar to be able to come in, plug it in real simple, and be able to get some great sounds out of.